What's good, Joe? What's good, Real Talk Squad? This is Miles, and you're listening to Real Talk of Miles Johnson, where we always keep it real. Now, in this episode, I got a special guest, my guy, Brett. What's up, bro? If you don't know who Brett is, you do know now. Matter of fact, he's about to approach 6,000 followers on TikTok, has over 340,000 likes on TikTok. This man is killing it, man. And, I appreciate you. I've been, following you for a little minute now, seeing your little jazz takes, seeing you, have seen your Giannis takes, but you have some great takes. I'm happy to have you on the show.
Hey, I appreciate it, Miles. Yes, sir. Just been grinding on the TikTok lately, same thing on the YouTube as well. I've been seeing the work you've been putting into lately. Once I came across your channel, bro, because I was like, oh man, this man been messing with me for a minute. I'm like, he got some dope stuff too. And, I've been seeing you putting up some numbers too on TikTok lately, man. So we just both got to stay up on that grind, man, for sure.
For sure, bro, man. This collab is I'm just glad that that we can all collab and all that. And man, let's just get right into it. I mean,
Sure, bro.
The Bucks, they won. They were my pick in the beginning of the year. I had the Lakers and the Nets, being in the finals. Injuries have happened, all this has happened, but hey, the Bucks have won. Credit to them. But what was your reaction to the Bucks winning? Beating the Suns in 6 games?
No, for sure. Like, I think my initial reaction was this is exactly what I expected. Chris Paul being an all-time great. I think a lot of emotions were felt that in his 16th year, we all wanted to see Chris Paul go out with the ring, do it the right way. And especially from a team that was 8-0 in the bubble last year, we'd seen that Monty Williams really turn this team around. And obviously Devin Booker being one of the best young guards in the game. Chris Paul turned this team around as well as Monty Williams. Obviously the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. We had high expectations for them once they made the finals, but this was something I expected. I feel as if Chris Paul was never a guy that could truly get over the hump, obviously in his first ever NBA Finals appearance. And Giannis being obviously the best player in the series, a 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. I knew Giannis was just going to wreak havoc on this Suns team. There's nobody on this team that could stop him, especially with Dario Saric, I believe, being out for the series as well. DeAndre Ayton was really the only big body. The Suns depth-wise and also really inexperience-wise weren't going to be able to compete with Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and of course, we saw what Giannis did. I had said before the series, I think the Bucks are going to take this in 6, even when they were down 2-0. I said Bucks in 6. I stuck with my gut, and sure enough, Bucks in 6.
Hey, I mean, I had Suns when the series first started. I had Suns in 6, and that was really because I didn't know how Giannis was gonna play with his injury with the hyperextended knee. I mean, his knee like bent backwards. I was like, is this a torn ACL? But he ended up coming back after game 1. He had like 20 points, 17 rebounds. I changed my pick to Suns in 7, and I thought Giannis would be better. But the way he played throughout the series, I mean, 40 points and 10 rebounds in back-to-back games. Only Shaq and Bron have ever done that. To put 50 points in a closeout game, I mean, that's like an iconic performance that he's done. And, the Bucks have won. Gotta give him credit. He's done this without a super team. I mean, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday. You could probably say Chris Middleton is he's probably top 25. I wouldn't say he's top 20, but he's definitely top 25. But Drew Holiday isn't even top 25. But, he's doing this essentially, without a super team in a super team era. So I got to give him all the credit in the world. Now, with the Suns, I was rooting for CP3 to get his ring. I feel like we all were. But, I guess it at the end of the day, it's like, the team that has the best player most of the time wins, unless it's like the Warriors and the Cavs, and the Warriors are just so much more talented. But the Suns and Bucks are talent-wise pretty evenly matched. But
exactly.
Giannis is like by leaps and bounds the best player in that series, and that's ultimately the reason why they won. So my next question for you is, with Giannis averaging 35 points in this series, 13 rebounds, 5 assists. I mean, he was swatting everybody's shot like it was like a volleyball match. I mean, this guy was everywhere on the court. Is he the best player on the planet?
Yeah, he is. Giannis is the best player on the planet. I know that's a hot take. I've said, what was it, last year when the Lakers won in the bubble in the 2020 NBA season, I said, you know what, man, LeBron still is, because, I had gotten onto LeBron a lot. After joining the Lakers, of course, we saw he went down in that first season with that injury. They missed the playoffs, and then obviously second year comes back, win the NBA championship in the bubble with Anthony Davis. and I still gave my respect to LeBron. But what really makes me say that Giannis right now is the best player in basketball, and everyone wants to say recency bias, and sure, to an extent, but he proved it, right? People are going to say, okay, Giannis isn't top five if he went out versus the Suns, lost in 4, lost in 5, right? People aren't going to give him that respect. But the reason I say that is because, and I bring LeBron into this because everyone acknowledges LeBron really is. LeBron said it himself. I'm never going to probably be 100% of what I am ever again, right? So if LeBron's going to say it, nobody knows his body like he does, right? And especially heading into year 19. So that leaves it between Kevin Durant and Giannis. And right, Kevin Durant played phenomenal in that second round series in the semifinals. Yep. Obviously, he's an inch and a half away from winning that series, right? But that's basketball, okay? Things happen. So Kevin Durant offensively, there's never been another player like him. If you want to say Kevin Durant, I'm not going to argue with you. But if you don't have Kevin Durant or Giannis as your number one player in the world, you're tripping. Rethink your criteria and reevaluate what you see in a player, because Giannis proved it, especially 50 points, 50-point double-double in a closeout game. Defensively, there is nobody like him when it comes to versatility, 1 through 5. No offense to your Ben Simmons. Everyone wants to talk about Ben Simmons' defense. Giannis is on a different level defensively. He had 2 of the greatest blocks in NBA Finals history. Hell, maybe even in NBA history. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player in the world until proven otherwise. LeBron's injured. Kevin Durant is not defensively what Giannis Antetokounmpo is. Giannis the best player in basketball.
Hey, I can't really agree more with what you said. I mean, with Giannis, and it's crazy because a couple weeks ago, I think you seen my video, and I had Giannis isn't a top 5 player. It was a little bit of a troll, but I didn't think he was a top 5 player. I'm gonna be honest, and it was because I was stuck on his shot. He doesn't have a shot. He doesn't have that 3-point shot. He doesn't have like a mid-range shot or whatever. He struggles from the free throw line. But what he showed is that it does not matter. As long as you can put the ball in the hoop, it does not matter. They didn't say it's about Shaq. They didn't say it's about Wilt. They didn't say it's about other guys, about other centers that couldn't shoot. Tim Duncan wasn't the best shooter in the world, but people still gave him credit. I feel like a lot of times people don't give Giannis credit simply because he doesn't have like the skill set of KD. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Giannis isn't 7 foot and can pull up from 25 feet or 30 feet. That's not his game. But what he can do is pound you, in the paint. I mean, he's going to get you in the paint every single time, and nobody can defend him. Nobody can defend him. I mean, exactly. DeAndre Ayton, I mean, he just looked scared. He just looked scared out there. He was like a little boy. He was a little boy. And Giannis was a man amongst boys in there, especially with Dario Saric being out. It was like you have freaking DeAndre Ayton, you have Frank Kaminsky, and you have Jay Crowder again, guarding him, from, here and there. So it was like Giannis just proved that on the defensive end and on the offensive end, physically and, just everything, nobody can do what he can do. Now, yes, we can talk about his shooting and others and other stuff, and his skills, but at the end of the day, he can put the ball in the hoop, and I'm gonna have to give him that nod. And if anybody else, if LeBron put up 50 points in a game 6 closeout game and won the finals, we would be obviously, everybody would say he's the best player in the world. If KD put 50 points in a game 6 and a closeout game and won the finals, everyone would say that he's the best player in the world. So we have to give him that nod just because he won the championship, was the finals MVP. Clearly, it's not even a debate. I don't want to hear the Chris Middleton's the Batman.
I'm not trying to hear that from purpose.
Giannis put that to bed. He put that to bed. And so I'm really, I'm not arguing with anybody that would say that strictly as a player that either KD or LeBron is better than Giannis, but you have to give him. But he has earned that respect, and to do it without a super team, I just feel like it's fitting that you have to put Giannis at that. He's the best player in the world. Got to crown him. Now, let's say next season, if KD or LeBron or Steph or whoever, if they go ahead and win the chip and they steal it from him, then all right. But right now, I gotta agree with you, bro. I mean, Giannis is the best player in the world. Now I'm gonna shift this to who won this series and who lost this series. So the Suns, they were up 2-0. I had people telling me Suns in 4, people telling me Suns in 5. I mean, every time,
You
people
said
were
Suns in 6, yeah, or
Suns in
Suns in 7,
6.
seven, or something like that.
Every single time the Bucks like won a game, people were like, all right, now it's Suns in 5. But the Bucks won 2. Now it's Suns in 6.
Right.
But majority of people, thought that the Suns would win this, would win this series, especially once they got up 2-0. So my question to you is, who won this series? Was it the Bucks or did the Suns just choke?
I don't think the Suns choke, man. I feel as if, yeah, having a 2-0 lead, nonetheless, that's a 2-0 lead. You took care of home court advantage. The whole thing is you got to go steal one on the road, right? You got to go up 3-1, take care of business. Because if it's up 3-1, y'all are most likely winning that series, regardless of Giannis being the most dominant player. That kind of takes the defeat out of the team. No, I think the Suns definitely blew this series for sure. I mean, like I said, going up 2-0, that's your job. You're supposed to take care of home court advantage. And we saw how crazy packed it was. And that was nothing compared to that Deer District out there. 60,000 people out there, game 6 in Milwaukee, cheering. Good for the city and good for the Milwaukee fans. But Phoenix absolutely lost this series, and it's not even close. Yeah, Giannis is the best player on the court. Yeah, they've been put in positions like this in the past where they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals back in 2019. They lost in the semifinals. These guys have been battle tested, especially Giannis, with all the scrutiny he's been getting the last couple of seasons after being an MVP 2 out of the last 3 seasons. But I don't see how anybody could say that, the Bucks just sat here and won the series. Yeah, they bully balled and they came back, ripped off 4 straight wins and took care of business. But the Suns absolutely lost the series. Chris Paul's never going to get an opportunity like this ever again in his career. I'm not putting any blame on a guy like Devin Booker. This is his first ever time ever even making the NBA playoffs, and he takes them all the way to the finals. Monty Williams, this is really the first time he's ever been in this position as well. But the Bucks, they came in and took care of business, but the Suns absolutely blew the series.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say that the Suns definitely, with CP3, he had that game 4. It was terrible. And, Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton in game 6, they simply did not show up. DeAndre Ayton had 12 points, had 6 rebounds. Jay Crowder had 13 rebounds. He had double the rebounds that he had, and DeAndre Ayton 7 foot tall. That's just inexcusable. But I think that the Bucks just won this series. You have to look at it like I had the Suns in 7, but when the Suns were when the Suns were up by when they were up 2-0 in the series, I thought the Bucks can still come back. It's not over until the road team wins the game. Right. And that's what happened once the series didn't really start until the Bucks won game 5. And I just felt like in game 3, in game 4, Giannis, he completely took over. He took over and nobody could stop him. And I just don't think I don't think you can say, oh, the Suns choked this. I just feel like the best player just showed up. Once Giannis just went just crazy, and he was completely dominated, and he was finally comfortable after that scary injury a couple of weeks back, and once he really got into his own, it was the Bucks for the taking. And especially in game 5, the Suns, they played pretty well. Devin Booker had a 40-piece. People talk about Chris Paul choking. He didn't in game 5. He didn't choke. He had 21 points, 11 assists. He was efficient. Yeah. He wasn't. Chris Paul didn't choke in that. Especially in game 5,
6, especially game 6 too. He was the best player on the Suns that game.
That's what I'm saying. And so it's like in game 5 though. The Bucks just won that. I just feel like Giannis, what he's going to give you. He's going to give you 30 points, 13 rebounds. That's a given every night. But Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday stepped they are either hot or they're cold. There's no in between with those guys. Like Jrue Holiday, he'll either go 12 for 18 or he'll go 4 for 20. It's literally no in between with that guy. But in game 5, he played the game of his life, had 27 points, 13 assists, and he was efficient, which him and Chris Middleton are never efficient.
And had that game winning still at the end of the game.
That's what I'm saying. And Jrue Holiday had 27 points. Chris Middleton had 28. Giannis had 32. So combined, that big 3 almost put up what they had 90 points combined with all those guys. So it's like they just played that big 3, especially in game 5, which was the turning point in this series. They just played out of their minds, and you just got to give that respect to the Bucks, who just, won this series. And obviously, the Suns, they could have done a better job. Monty Williams probably should have done a better job of defending Giannis. But at the end, I feel like this Bucks team, I just took the heart out of this Suns team, especially in that game 5 and that dunk. That dunk at the end, game 5, iconic.
That's still the series, yeah. And let me rebuttal with that, because you're saying that the Bucks won this series, and I'm saying that the Suns blew the series. Now, kind of let me make a comparison. And yes, I'm a little bit salty, but I'm trying to be as transparent as possible when it comes to the Jazz, right? Now, when we say, for example, the Phoenix Suns are up 2-0, they lose that series in the NBA Finals, the Milwaukee Bucks. I say that they blew that series versus Utah up 2-0 on the LA Clippers in the semifinals. I don't think that the Jazz blew that series. There's levels to everything, right? You have both teams are up 2-0. Now let me get that comparison, right? The Suns are fully healthy, right? Dario Saric doesn't count. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, it would have been nice to have another big body there, and sure, another key role guy coming off the bench. But they had guys step up from Cameron Payne and a handful of others, right? The Suns were healthy that entire series, right? The Jazz were missing Mike Conley, their all-star point guard, the guy who's the off-ball guard for Donovan Mitchell to create other offensive plays when Donovan Mitchell does not need to be the primary ball handler every single time. They missed him the first 5 games of that second round series, right? The Jazz were up 2-0, but as soon as the Jazz lost game 5 on their home court, and I believe it was only by 7 or 8 points, I don't remember the exact score, that to me is the Clippers just saying, okay, we're the better team, regardless of Kawhi Leonard's there or not, right? Ty Lue is just a phenomenal coach. Let's just give him his damn respect, right? So Ty Lue's been in this position, right? We've seen him come back down from 3-1. I say the Clippers are the better team, right? And the Jazz, sure, they regular season were the better team, the best team in basketball, but in that predicament when you don't have your starting point guard, who is your primary ball handler and the guy who creates other opportunities, that is a huge hit to a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who has played out of his mind the last 2 years in the playoffs, in the bubble, and this year. So that's the difference, I would say, between like the Jazz getting outplayed by the better team versus the Phoenix Suns blowing this series. Does that make sense?
That's how I view it. I see that now. Difference with that, though, I think that the Suns, I feel like the Jazz blew that because you can't lose a game 5 without Kawhi. You can't. I'm sorry. Your team, y'all cannot lose everybody. I mean, when Kawhi, and we're getting a little bit off topic here, but whatever. We'll kind of transition. Kawhi, but like Kawhi was out in game 5. Everybody thought, in the world, Kawhi's out. There's no way that this Clippers team is coming out. Right. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell, he's a young guy, probably berserk. He went, he's going to be the next probably Dwayne Wade, probably even better than Dwayne Wade. But, they got to win that series if their best player is out. With the Suns, Giannis just played, 40 points back-to-back games. This guy is going crazy. He tapped into something that I just did not see him do. I just feel like his mentality, I made a video on this as well. It's just like, he doesn't give up. And this series made me respect Giannis, because I didn't respect him before this. But it's like you have the crowd, counting to 10, counting to 11, counting to 12 on you. Even Chris Paul was like, everybody is expecting him to miss. The next game, this guy makes 17 or 19 free throws, right? And once Giannis does that, and we're gonna transition into him next, but once Giannis hits his free throws, it's not even gonna be a debate about the best player in the world. It's gonna really be a wrap. It's really gonna be a wrap, especially if he gets to 75% from the line, or especially if it's 80%, it really is. And that's probably far-fetched, but 75%, if he gets there, it's pretty much over. But transferring over to Giannis, I came and said that I think that Giannis can be the GOAT. I think that it's a long shot. Obviously, it's a long shot for anybody to be the greatest of all time out of all the players in the NBA. The NBA started since 1950s or whatever. But I think that with Giannis's resume, two-time MVP, defensive player of the year, most improved player. You have seen his journey in the NBA. Should he have a legitimate case down the line if he keeps this up to be the greatest player of all time?
Yeah, 100%. And I think people take that as an offensive thing because people are, LeBron stans or Michael Jordan stans, right? And, obviously me and you, Miles, growing up in obviously the King LeBron era, right? We all acknowledge the level of greatness of LeBron James. Obviously, we understand the level of greatness of Michael Jordan too, right? Those are the two undisputed GOATs of the NBA. I think the more realistic argument for Giannis will be the most dominant player to have ever played the game. But to leave him out of the GOAT conversation with the trajectory of his career and the body of work he's already accumulated together at the age of 26, if he dominates the league for another 9 to 10 years, let's say he's 35, 36, let's say he wins 2 more rings in the body of fashion the way he did, maybe without a super team. Hell, regardless, rings are rings, right? Let's say he gets them. Let's say he continues and stacks maybe 2 more MVPs. He's already been putting up historic numbers that we haven't seen since guys like Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq even said he's the Superman of this era, right? He gave him that nickname. So to leave Giannis out of that question or out of that conversation, you're a very close-minded person, right? People say, you got to have a bag. You got to have that offensive arsenal. But no, he clearly doesn't. That's what this series showed. He can bully ball you, and it don't matter. If he's hitting 70, 75% of them free throws too, it's a wrap. This guy will continue to dominate the league if he stays healthy. I think this guy can absolutely go down as the greatest of all time. If I had to be realistic and put my money on it, I think he finishes a top 10 player. I think that's already going to be solidified by the end of his career. But out of the GOAT conversation, he will absolutely be there ahead of guys like Luka right now, no disrespect, and a handful of others that are going to be the faces of the league with Tatum and Donovan. Giannis will be in the GOAT conversation at the end of his career.
And here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say to that, because I agree that if hypothetically, if this guy, keeps this up again in a super team era, he's won a ring without a super team. That's impressive in itself. People have already said that. I believe this too, that his ring is more impressive than KD's 2 rings. You said no, that's a whole different discussion. But I just feel like especially if he gets 2 rings, 3 rings, 4 rings with the Bucks, and they're not a super team, then you're gonna have to put him over guys like KD. This is blasphemous. I'm even saying this, but put him over guys like Bron. Let's say Bron only has 4 rings, and let's say Giannis, wins 3 more rings with the Bucks without like a super team, and you're gonna have to say that. But what I will say is when Giannis's athleticism goes down, because we're seeing this with LeBron. LeBron, he's developed a shot more. He's developed a post game. He has developed like a 3-point shot as well. And it's like, as his athleticism has gone down a little bit, he has unlocked other parts of his game. So it's going to be interesting when Giannis is like 8 years in, or like, around like 34 or like 32, once his athleticism goes down, how his game is going to shift, because, his game is predicated on athleticism. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, if he is in that conversation, he's going to have to shift his game, to either have like a mid-range game, have a post game, but have something else other than just driving inside. Because once, he loses that athleticism, once he loses being that, that like freakish athlete that we all know he is, it's going to be hard for him to, I guess, keep up with like how dominant he is now, just because his game is so predicated on athleticism. Guys like, KD, Curry, they can be in the league for a long time because they can just shoot. As they don't, if they aren't as athletic anymore, they can still shoot the lights out. Worst case scenario. So I think later down the line, we'll have to see if Giannis can mold his game into something else other than just dunking the ball. Now, obviously, no knock on him now. He's doing what he got to do to win. But obviously, once his athleticism goes down, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do to try, shift his game, as he gets older, as his athleticism dies down. Now, with this podcast about to end, I would like to thank you, Brett, for coming on. I gave you a little, it was a little bit of short notice, but my man, he came on the podcast. He showed love, man. I appreciate you, dog. Again, I've been watching your videos for a minute now, and I'm a big fan. All of y'all watching this right now, go ahead, follow Brett on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. It's going to be all in the description down below. And man, again, I appreciate you for coming on the podcast.
Yes, sir, Miles. Appreciate you having me on, man. Definitely we'll have to chop it up again sometime for sure, bro.
For sure. With that being said, Joe, we out.